Hi, Belle. Hi, Jenny. How are you doing? I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, it feels like a while. I'm all right. Not any interesting gossip to fill you in on, sadly.
There's no hamster chats.
I mean, look, the hamster cage has been doubled and now lives in the hallway. It is large and taking up all of the space. It's fine. She's worth it. Hi.
Hey, Jenny. Hope you're feeling okay.
Hey, I'm okay. I'm off work now. Like I went back to work on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I wasn't feeling well, and then I went back off work yesterday and today and tomorrow, and then hopefully I'll do better. Look what I've got!
It's a human.
It's a human. It's an Andreas.
Hello, human. What a nice pair of humans. Lots of nice humans. Lots of nice humans all up in my face. Yay! Yay! Belle's here! Hi, Belle! Hello! So nice to see you. I feel like it's been a little while. Yeah, it has. I was just saying, I don't think anything particularly interesting's been happening, but
that's true.
That's kind of
that's true for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Especially Glasgow, because we've been not.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, you could go to a shop if you were so inclined.
Oh my God.
Shop.
I mean, I'm not inclined, but if you wanted to go shopping tomorrow for things other than food, you would be allowed to.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're bumping down tiers tomorrow in Glasgow.
In Lanarkshire as well?
That's a good question.
I
don't
think
know.
Glasgow and all of the surrounding council areas are
There were
going down to 3.
Yeah, there were 4 councils that were being bumped down to 3. But yeah, my family down in Bristol are all in lockdown as well. So it feels at least like both sides of the family are equally in lockdown. That's good. Yeah. It's not like one of us being like, going to the shops. You can't go to the shops. There's not been any of that, which is good. Exactly. No
Some of my
shops
work
allowed.
colleagues, though, were going down to tier 2 and they were like, haha, we can do these things and you all can't. It's nice.
No.
How lovely of them.
Very harsh.
I mean, I'd be more upset if they were doing things I actually wanted to do, but until we get cuddles back, frankly, I don't really care. Like, if we can't go to each other's houses and we can't have cuddles, like, what difference do the tiers really make? Like,
yeah, like I like IKEA as much as the next person, but I'm not gonna like lose any sleep over not being able to go and get my Swedish meatballs. All about cuddles. The only thing that I do miss is if we go and visit Ian's granny. So far, we've been having to go and visit her in the cemetery because it's the only covered outdoor space we could find, and she gets really cold really quickly. So it would be nice to visit her not in a cemetery. As lovely as the cemetery is, it's very interesting. That would be very nice. It's been a weird few weekends.
It does sound slightly like she's undead from that description.
Yeah, we've just been visiting her at her grave in the tomb as opposed to in a cafe. I was not expecting you to say cemetery. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, right. It's the only place walking distance from our house that has like a little pavilion with a rain cover on it. It needs to be somewhere like covered from the rain and the winds. And the only place we found in walking distance was the cemetery.
That's got to be the saddest place in the world to have a loyalty card, right?
Oh, Jesus. this, Rory?
Well,
We take our own cake. We don't buy
10
it
years
there.
ago today, which means I can finally get myself that free latte.
I was going to say, what do you get with your
What do you win?
when you get 8 stamps?
Yeah.
Like, is it a free coffee or is it like a free tombstone?
You,
Oh,
yeah.
God.
I mean, tombstones are expensive.
Sympathetic nod.
Tombstones are super expensive. Also, hi Kitty and Rory.
Hi.
You are super kind.
I have exciting news specifically for you, Frankie. So
That's me. That's my name.
So I heard back. I was talking to the folks in my local bookstore again today. They emailed back about a thing I'd ordered, and they passed on the message that Kirsty Logan, author of The Gracekeepers, very much enjoyed listening to your rendition of Kirsty Logan's The Gracekeepers, and it absolutely made her week. So yeah, you're welcome. She's a fan. For all I know, she might be listening now. She might be part of the catch-up group.
You've rendered Frankie speechless in a way that I did not know was
Possible.
Yeah, wow.
This is amazing.
I should add that Joanne Harris has not listened to you read anything.
And just to be clear, neither has Jane Austen.
That we know of.
Harry Pratchett is definitely watching from above, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. God. Are you shitting me?
I'm 100% serious. Specifically, Kirsty contacted them to pass on the message that she really, really enjoyed it.
Kirsty, if you're listening, leave a comment.
Or email, are you sitting comfortably at outlook.com?
Now I'm trying to remember if she was someone we awkwardly shipped with anyone. There's a real possibility.
Characters or her? Oh.
Thank you.
No worries. Anyway, so now to return to just total composure as you launch into Smash.
Yeah, it is actually Frankie.
No pressure or anything, but there might be some critically acclaimed novelists just like talent scouts, I guess, just kind of just watching, just listening. No pressure. You'll be great. You'll be fine.
If they don't have a contract for Kirsty Logan's next audiobook, I sincerely hope they reach out to you.
Mm-hmm. A portable shelter, perhaps. That's the name of one of her books, and also it's Storytime.
Is it? Oh yeah, I think I have that.
Oh God. Oh no, my face hurts. Oh, this is bad.
Are you okay, Frankie?
Do you want a minute? Take a minute.
I am fine. Fine.
You are fine.
The world goes around you.
I've been waiting all day to see the look on your face.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay. I'm gonna mute everybody. And think very somber thoughts for a few seconds. Right. What book is this? What are we doing? Okay, right, everybody. Settle down and stop smiling so much, please. It's quite enough of all that. Now, somebody is unmuted. Can you mute yourself, whoever is unmuted? Thank you, I love you. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Let me put it like this, said Cheery. These rats have been poisoned with lead instead of arsenic. You'd been able to sharpen their noses and use them as a pencil. She lowered the beaker. Are you sure? Said Carrot. Yes. Wee Mad Arthur wouldn't poison rats, would he? Especially not rats that were going to be eaten. I've heard he doesn't like dwarves much, said Angua. Yes, but business is business. No one who does a lot of business with dwarves likes them much, and he must supply every dwarf cafe and delicatessen in the city. Maybe they ate arsenic before he caught them, said Angua. People use it as a rat poison, after all. Yes, said Carrot in a very deliberate way. They do. You're not suggesting that veterinary tucks into a nice rat every day, said Angua. I've heard he uses rats as spies, so I don't think he'd use them as Elevenses, said Carrot. But it'd be nice to know where Wee Mad Arthur gets his from, don't you think? Commander Vine said he was looking after the veterinary case, said Angua. But we're just finding out why Gimlet's rats are full of arsenic, said Carrot innocently. Anyway, I was going to ask Sergeant Colon to look into it. But Wee Mad Arthur, said Angua. He's mad. Fred can take Nobby with him. I'll go and tell him. Cheery? Yes, Captain. You've been trying to hide your face from me. Oh. Did someone hit you? No, sir. Only your eyes look a bit bruised and your lips. I'm fine, sir, said Cheery desperately. Oh, well, if you say so, I'll look for Sergeant Colon then. He backed out, embarrassed. That left the two of them. All girls together, thought Angua. One normal girl between the two of us, at any rate. I don't think the mascara works, Angua said. The lipstick's fine, but the mascara, I don't think so. I think I need practice. You sure you want to keep the beard? You don't mean shave, said Cheery, backed away. All right, all right. What about the iron helmet? It belonged to my grandmother. It's dwarfish. Fine, fine, okay. You've made a good start, anyway. What do you think of this? Said Cheery, handing her a bit of paper. Angua read it. It was a list of names, although most of them were crossed out. Cheery Littlebottom. Cherry. Sherry. Sherry. Lucinda Littlebottom. Sherry. Sherry. Cherie. What do you think? Said Cheery nervously. Lucinda, said Angua, raising her eyebrows. Was like the sound of the name. Cherie is nice, said Angua. And it is rather like the one you've got already. The way people spell in this town, no one will actually notice until you point it out to them. Cheery's shoulders sagged with released tension. When you've mined up your mind to shout out who you are to the world, it's a relief to know that you can do it in a whisper. Cherie, thought Angua. Now, what does that name conjure up? Does the mental picture include iron boots, iron helmet, a small worried face and a long beard? Well, it does now. Somewhere underneath Ankh-Morpork, a rat went about its business, ambling unconcernedly through the ruins of a damp cellar. It turned a corner towards the grain store it knew was up ahead and almost walked into another rat. This one was standing on its hind legs, though, and wearing a tiny black robe and carrying a scythe. Such of its snout that could be seen was bone white. Squeak, it said. Then the vision faded and revealed a slightly smaller figure. There was nothing in the least rat-like about it, apart from its size. It was human, or at least humanoid. It was dressed in rat-skin trousers, but was bare above the waist, apart from 2 bandoliers that crisscrossed its chest. And it was smoking a tiny cigar. It's you, Rory. It raised a very small crossbow and fired. The soul of the rat, for anything so similar in many ways to human beings certainly has a soul, watched gloomily as the figure took its recent habitation by the tail and towed it away. Then it looked up at the death of rats. "Squeak," it said. The grim squeaker nodded. Squeak. A minute later, wee mad Arthur emerged into the daylight, dragging the rat behind him. There were 57 neatly lined up against the wall, but despite his name, wee mad Arthur made a point of not killing the young and the pregnant females. It's always a good idea to make sure you've got a job tomorrow. His sign was still tacked up over the hole. Wee mad Arthur, as the only insect and vermin exterminator able to meet the enemy on its own terms, found that it paid to advertise. Wee mad Arthur, for those little things that get you down. Right, rats, free. Mice, 1p per 10 tails. Moles, 0.5 each. Wasps, 50p per nest. Hornets, 20p extra. Cockroaches and similar by arrangement. Small fees, big jobs. Arthur took out the world's smallest notebook and a piece of pencil lead. See here now. 58 skins at 2 a penny, city bounty for the tails at 1p per 10, and the carcasses to Gimlet at 2p per 3, the hard-driving dwarf bastard that he was. There was a moment's shadow, and then someone stamped on him. "Right," said the owner of the boot. "Still catching rats without a guild card, are you? Easiest $10 we ever earned, Sid. Let's go and..." The man was lifted several inches off the ground, whirled around and hurled against the wall. His companion stared as a streak of dust raced across his boot, but reacted too late. "He's gone up me trouser! He's gone up me... Ah!" There was a crack. "Me knee! Me knee! He's broken me knee!" The man who had been flung aside tried to get up, but something scurried across his chest and landed astride his nose. "Hey, pal," said wee mad Arthur. "Can your mother sew, pal? Yeah? Then get her to stitch this one." He grabbed an eyelid in each hand and thrust his head forward with pinpoint precision. There was another crack as the skulls met. The man with the broken knee tried to drag himself away, but wee mad Arthur leapt from his stunned comrade and proceeded to kick him. The kicks of a man not much more than 6 inches high should not hurt, but wee mad Arthur seemed to have a lot more mass than his size would allow. Being nutted by Arthur was like being hit by a steel ball from a slingshot. A kick seemed to have all the power of one from a large man, but very painfully concentrated into a smaller area. "Yous can tell them buggers at the Rat Catchers Guild that I works for who's I want, charges what I like," he said between kicks. "And them shites can stop trying to persecute the small businessmen." The other guild enforcer made it to the end of the alley. Arthur gave Sid a final kick and left him in the gutter. Wee mad Arthur walked back to his task, shaking his head. He worked for nothing and sold his rats for half the official rate, a heinous crime. Yet wee mad Arthur was growing rich because the guilds hadn't got its joint heads around the idea of fiscal relativity. Arthur charged a lot more for his services. A lot more, that is, from the specialised and, above all, low point of view of wee mad Arthur. What Ankh-Morpork had yet to understand was that the smaller you are, the more your money is worth. $1 for a human bought a loaf of bread that was eaten in a few bites. The same dollar for wee mad Arthur bought the same sized loaf, but it was food for a week and could then be further hollowed out and used as a bedroom. The size differential problem was also responsible for his frequent drunkenness. Few publicans were prepared to sell beer by the thimbleful or had gnome-sized mugs. Wee Mad Arthur had to go drinking in a swimming costume. But he liked his work. No one could clear out rats like Wee Mad Arthur. Old and cunning rats that knew all about traps, deadfalls, and poison were helpless in the face of his attack, which was, in fact, where he often attacked. The last thing they felt was a hand gripping each of their ears, and the last thing they saw was his forehead approaching at speed. Muttering under his breath, Wee Mad Arthur got back to his calculations, but not for long. He spun around, forehead cocked. "It's only us, Wee Mad Arthur," said Sergeant Colon, stepping back hurriedly. "That's Mr. Wee Mad Arthur to use, copper," said Wee Mad Arthur, but he relaxed a little. "We're Sergeant Colon and Corporal Nobbs," said Colon. "Yeah, you remember us, don't you?" said Nobby in a wheedling voice. "We was the one who helped you when you was fighting them 3 dwarfs last week." "You just pulled me off of them, if that's what you mean," said Wee Mad Arthur. "Just when I've got them all down." "We want to talk to you about some rats," said Colon. "Can't take on any more customers," said Wee Mad Arthur firmly. "Some rats you sold to Gimlet's whole food delicatessen a few days ago." "What's that to use?" "He reckons they was poisoned," said Nobby, who had taken the precaution of moving behind Colon. "I never uses poison." Colon realised he was backing away from a man 6 inches high. "Yeah, well, see, thing is, you being in fights and that, you don't get on with dwarves. Some people might say. Thing is, it could look like you might have a grudge." He took another step back and almost tripped over Nobby. "Grudge? Why should I have a grudge, pal? It ain't me that gets the kicking," said Wee Mad Arthur, advancing. Good point, said Colon. "Only it'd help, right, if you could tell us where you got those rats from." "Like the Patrician's Palace, maybe," said Nobby. "The palace? No one catches rats at the palace. That's not allowed." "No, I remember those rats. It was good fat ones. I wanted a penny each, but he held out for 4 for threepence, the old skinflint that he is." "Where did you get them then?" Wee Mad Arthur shrugged. "Down the cattle market. I do the cattle market Tuesdays. Couldn't tell you where they come from. Them tunnels goes everywhere, you see." "Could they have eaten poison before you caught them?" said Colon. Wee Mad Arthur bristled. "No one puts down poison round there. I won't have it, see? I got all the contracts along the shambles, and I won't deal with any gobshite who uses poison. I doesn't charge for extermination, see? Guild hates that, but I chooses me customers." Wee Mad Arthur grinned wickedly. "I only goes where there's the finest eating for the rats, and I clean up flogging them to the lawn ornaments. I find anyone using poison on my patch, they can pay guild rates for guild work. Ha, see how they like it." "I can see you're going to be a big man in industrial catering," said Colon. Wee Mad Arthur put his head on one side. "Do you know what happened to the last man that made a crack like that?" he said. No, said Colon. "Neither does anyone else," said Wee Mad Arthur, "'cause he was never found." "He's finished? Only I got a wasp's nest to clean out before I go home." "So you were catching them under the shambles?" Colon persisted. "All the way along. It's a good beat. It's tanners, tallow men, butchers, sausage makers. That's good grazing if you're a rat." "Yeah, right," said Colon. "Fair enough. Well, I reckon we've taken up enough of your time." "How do you catch wasps?" said Nobby, intrigued. "Smoke 'em out?" "It's unsporting not to hit them on the wing," said Wee Mad Arthur. "But if it's a busy day, I make up squibs out of that #1 black powder the alchemists sell." He indicated the laden bandoliers over his shoulders. "You blow them up," said Nobby. "That don't sound too sporting." "Yeah? Just ever tried setting and lighting half a dozen fuses and then fighting your way back out the entrance before the first one goes off? It's a wild goose chase, Sarge, said Nobby as they strolled away. Some rats ate some poison somewhere and he got them. What were we supposed to do about it? Poisoning rats ain't illegal. Colon scratched his chin. I think we could be in a bit of trouble, Nobby, he said. I mean, everyone's been bustling around detectoring and we could end up looking like a right couple of noddies. I mean, do you want to go back to the yard and say we talked to wee Mad Arthur and he said it wasn't him, end of story? We're humans, right? Well, I am, and I know you probably are, and we're definitely bringing up the rear round here. I'm telling you, this ain't my watch anymore, Nobby. Trolls, dwarfs, gargoyles. I've nothing against them, you know me, but I'm looking forward to my little farm with chickens round the door. And I wouldn't mind going out with something to be proud of. Well, what do you want us to do? Knock on every door around the cattle market and ask them if they've got any arsenic in the place? Yep, said Colon. Walk and talk. That's what Vines always says. There's hundreds of them. Anyway, they'd say no. Right, but we got to ask. Don't like it used to be, Nobby. This is modern policing, detectoring. These days we got to get results. I mean, the watch is getting bigger. I don't mind old detritus being a sergeant. He's not bad when you get to know him. But one of these days it could be a dwarf giving our orders, Nobby. It's all right for me, because I'll be out on my farm, nailing chickens round the door, said Nobby. Well, you've got your future to think of. And the way things are going, maybe the watch will be looking for another captain. Be a right bugger if you turn out to have a name like Strong in the arm, eh? Or Shale. So you better look smart. You never wanted to be a captain, Fred. Me? A officer? I have my pride, Nobby. I've nothing against officering and for them as is called to it, but it's not for the likes of me. My place is in with the common man. Wish mine was, said Nobby gloomily. Look what was in my pigeonhole this morning. He handed the sergeant a square of card with gold edging. Lady Salachi, oh no, wrong one. Lady Salachi will be at home this PM from 5 onwards and requests the pleasure of the company of Lord de Nobbs, he read. Oh. I've heard about these rich old women, said Nobby dejectedly. I reckon she wants me to be a gigolo. Is that right? Nah, said the sergeant, looking at Passion's most unlikely plaything. I know this stuff from my uncle. At home is a bit like a drink stew. It's where all you knobs hobnob, Nobby. You just drink and scoff and talk about literature and the arts. I haven't got any posh clothes, said Nobby. Oh, that's where you score, Nobby, said Colon. Uniforms is okay. Adds a bit of tone, in fact. Especially if you look dashing, he said, ignoring the evidence that Nobby was, in fact, merely runny. Is that a fact? Said Nobby, brightening up a bit. I've got a lot more of them invites too, he said. Posh cards what look like they've been nibbled all along the edges with gold teeth. Dinners, balls, all kinds of stuff. Colon looked down at his friend. A strange and yet persuasive thought crept into his mind. Well, he said, it's the end of the social season, see? Time's running out. What for? Well, could be all them posh women want to marry you off to their daughters who are in season. What? Nothing beats an earl except a duke, and we haven't got one of them. And we ain't got a king neither. The Earl of Ankh would be what they calls a social catch. Yes, it was easier if he said it to himself like that. If you substituted Nobby Nobbs for Earl of Ank, it didn't work. But it did work when you just said Earl of Ank. There'd be many women who'd be happy to be the mother-in-law of the Earl of Ank, even if it meant having Nobby Nobbs into the bargain. Well, a few anyway. Nobby's eyes gleamed. Never thought of that, he said. Some of these girls have a bit of cash too. More than you, Nobby. And of course, I owes it to my posterity to see that the line of Nobbses doesn't die out, Nobby added thoughtfully. Colon beamed at him with the rather worried expression of a mad doctor who was bolted on the head, applied the crackling lightning to the electrodes, and is now watching his creation lurch down to the village. Cool, said Nobby, his eyes now unfocusing slightly. Right, but before that, said Colon, I'll do all the places along the shambles and you do Chitling Street, and then we can push off back to the yard, job done and dusted. Okay? Afternoon, Commander Vimes, said Carrot, shutting the door behind him. Captain Carrot reporting. Vimes was slumped in his chair, staring at the window. The fog was creeping up again. Already the opera house opposite was a little hazy. We had a look at as many golems as we could, sir, said Carrot, trying diplomatically to see if there was a bottle anywhere on the desk. There's hardly any, sir. We found 11 had smashed themselves up or sawn their heads off, and by lunchtime people were smashing them or taking out their words themselves, sir. It's not nice, sir. There's bits of pottery all over the city. It's as if people were just waiting for the opportunity. It's odd, sir. All they do is work and keep themselves to themselves and don't offer any harm to anyone. And some of the ones that smashed themselves left, well, notes, sir, sort of saying they were sorry and ashamed, sir. They kept on going about their clay. Vimes did not respond. Carrot leaned sideways and down in case there was a bottle on the floor. And Gimlet's whole food delicatessen has been selling poisoned rat. Arsenic, sir. I've asked Sergeant Colon and Nobby to follow that one. It might just be some kind of mix-up, but you never know. Vimes turned. Carrot could hear his breathing. Short, sharp bursts, like a man trying to keep himself under control. What have we missed, Captain? He said in a faraway voice. Sir? In his lordship's bedroom. There's the bed, the desk, things on the desk, the table by the bed, the chair, the rug, everything. We've replaced everything. He eats food. We've checked the food, yes? The whole larder, sir. Is that a fact? We might be wrong there. I don't understand how, but we might be wrong. There's some evidence lying in the cemetery that suggests we are. Vimes was nearly growling. What else is there? Littlebottom says there's no marks on him. What else is there? Let's find out the how, and with any luck, that'll give us the who. He breathes the air more than anyone else, sir, but we moved him into another bedroom. Even if someone was, I don't know, pumping poison in, they couldn't change rooms with us all watching. It's got to be the food. I've watched them taste it, sir. They eat something we are not seeing, damn it. People are dead, Captain. Mrs. Easy's dead. Who, sir? You've never heard of her? Can't say that I have, sir. What did she used to do? Do? Nothing, I suppose. She just brought up 9 kids in a couple of rooms you couldn't stretch out in, and she sewed shirts for 2pence an hour, every hour the bloody gods sent. And all she did was work and keep herself to herself, and she is dead, Captain. And so's her grandson, aged 14 months. Because her granddaughter took them some grub from the palace. A bit of a treat for them. And do you know what? Mildred thought I was going to arrest her for theft. At the damn funeral, for God's sake. Vimes's fists opened and closed, his knuckles showing white. It's murder now. Not assassination, not politics, it's murder. Because we are not asking the right damn questions. The door opened. Oh, good afternoon, Squire, said Sergeant Colon brightly, touching his helmet. Sorry to bother you. I expect it's your busy time, but I've got to ask, just to eliminate you from our inquiry, so to speak. Do you use any arsenic around the place? Don't leave the officer standing there, Fanley, said a nervous voice, and the workman stepped aside. Good afternoon, officer. How may we help you? Checking up on arsenic, sir. Seems some's been getting where it shouldn't. Good heavens, really? I'm sure we don't use any, but do come inside while I check with the foreman. I'm certain there's a pot of tea hot, too. Colon looked behind him. The mist was rising. The sky was going grey. Wouldn't say no, sir, he said. The door closed behind him. A moment later, there was the faint scrape of the bolts. Right, said Vimes. Let's start again. He picked up an imaginary ladle. I'm the cook. I've made this nourishing gruel that tastes like dog's water. I'm filling up 3 bowls. Everyone's watching me. All the bowls have been well washed, right? Okay. The tasters take 2, 1 to taste, and these days the others for Littlebottom to check. And then a servant, that's you, Carrot, takes the 3rd one and puts it in the dumbwaiter, sir. There's one up to every room. I thought they carried them up. 6 floors? It'd get stone cold, sir. All right. Hold on. We've gone too far. You've got the bowl. Do you put it on a tray? Yes, sir. Put it on a tray, then. Carrot obediently put the invisible bowl on an invisible tray. Anything else? Said Vimes. A piece of bread, sir. And we check the loaf. Soup spoon? Yes, sir. Well, don't just stand there. Put them on. Carrot detached one hand from the invisible tray to take an invisible piece of bread and an intangible spoon. Anything else? Said Vimes. Salt and pepper? I think I remember salt and pepper's pots, sir. On they go, then. Vimes stared hawk-like at the space between Carrot's hands. No, he said. We wouldn't have missed that, would we? I mean, we wouldn't, would we? He reached out and picked up an invisible tube. Tell me we checked the salt, he said. That's the pepper, sir, said Carrot helpfully. Salt, mustard, vinegar, pepper, said Vimes. We didn't check all the food and then let his lordship tip poison on to suit his taste, did we? Arsenic's a metal. Can't you get metal salts? Tell me we asked ourselves that. We aren't that stupid, are we? I'll check directly, said Carrot. He looked around desperately. I'll just put the tray down. Not yet, said Vimes. I've been here before. We don't rush off shouting, give me a towel, just because we've had one idea. Let's keep looking, shall we? The spoon, what's it made of? Good point. I'll check the cutlery, sir. Now we're cooking with charcoal. What's he been drinking? Boiled water, sir. We've tested the water, and I checked the glasses. Good. So, we've got the tray, and you put the tray in the dumbwaiter, and then what? The men in the kitchen haul on the ropes, and it goes up to the 6th floor. No stops. Carrot looked blank. It goes up 6 floors, said Vimes. It's just a shaft with a big box in it that can be pulled up and down, isn't it? I'll bet there's a door into it on every floor. Some of the floors are hardly used these days, sir. Even better for our poisoner, huh? He just stands there, bold as you like, and waits for the tray to come by, right? We don't know that the meal which arrives is the one that left, do we? Brilliant, sir. It happens at night, I'll swear, said Vimes. He's chipper in the evenings and out like a light next morning. What time's his supper sent up? While he's poorly, around 6 o'clock, sir, said Carrot. It's got dark by then. Then he gets on with his writing. Right. We've got a lot to do. Come on. The patrician was sitting up in bed reading when Vimes entered. Ah, Vimes, he said. Your supper will be up shortly, my lord, said Vimes. And can I once again say that our job would be a lot easier if you let us move you out of the palace? I'm sure it would be, said Lord Veterinary. There was a rattle from the dumbwaiter. Vimes walked across and opened the doors. There was a dwarf in the box. He had a knife between his teeth and an axe in each hand and was glowering with ferocious concentration. Good heavens, said Veterinary weakly. I hope at least they've included some mustard. Any problems, Constable? Said Vimes. No, sir, said the dwarf, unfolding himself and removing the knife. Very dull all the way up, sir. There were other doors and they looked pretty unused, but I nailed them up anyway, like Captain Carrot said, sir. Well done. Down you go. Vimes shut the doors. There was more rattling as the dwarf began his descent. Every detail covered, eh, Vimes? I hope so, sir. The box came back up again with a tray in it. Vimes took it out. What's this? Clatchy and hots without anchovies, said Vimes, lifting the cover. We got it from Ron's pizza hovel around the corner. The way I see it, no one can poison all the food in the city. And the cutlery's from my place. You have the mind of a true policeman, Vimes. Thank you, sir. Really? Was it a compliment? The patrician prodded at the plate with the air of an explorer in a strange country. Has someone already eaten this, Vimes? No, sir. That's just how they chop up the food. Oh, I see. I thought perhaps the food tasters were getting over-enthusiastic, said the patrician. My word, what a treat I have to look forward to. I can see you're feeling better, sir, said Vimes stiffly. Thank you, Vimes. When Vimes had gone, Lord Veterinary ate the pizza, or at least those parts of it he thought he could recognise. Then he put the tray aside and blew out the candle by his bed. He sat in the dark for a while, then felt under his pillow until his finger located a small, sharp knife and a box of matches. Thank goodness for Vimes. There was something endearing about his desperate, burning, and above all, misplaced competence. If the poor man took any longer, he'd have to start giving him hints. In the main office, Carrot sat alone, watching Dorf. The golem stood where it had been left. Someone had hung a dishcloth on one arm. The top of its head was still open. Carrot spent a while with his chin on one hand, just staring. Then he opened a desk drawer and took out Dorf's hem. He examined it. He got up. He walked over to the golem. He placed the words in the head. An orange glow rose in Dorf's eyes. What was baked pottery took on that faintest of auras that mark the change between the living and the dead. Carrot found the golem's slate and pencil and pushed them into Dorf's hand, then stood back. The burning gaze followed him as he removed his sword belt, undid his breastplate, took off his jerkin and pulled his woolen vest over his head. The glow was reflected from his muscles. They glistened in the candlelight. No weapons, said Carrot. No armour. You see? Now, listen to me. Dorf lurched forward and swung a fist. Carrot did not move. The fist stopped a hair's breadth from Carrot's unblinking eyes. I didn't think you could, he said as the golem swung again and the fist jerked to a stop a fraction of an inch from Carrot's stomach. But sooner or later you'll have to talk to me. Right, anyway. Dorf paused. Then it picked up the slate pencil. Take my words. Tell me about the golem who killed people. The pencil did not move. The others have killed themselves, said Carrot. I know. How do you know? The golem watched him. Then it wrote, clay of my clay. You feel what other golems feel, said Carrot. Dorf nodded. People are killing golems, said Carrot. I don't know if I can stop that, but I can try. I think I know what's happening, Dorf. Some of it. I think I know who you were following. Clay of your clay, shaming you all. Something went wrong. You tried to put it right. I think you all had such high hopes, but the words in your head will defeat you every time. The golem stayed motionless. You sold him, didn't you? Said Carrot quietly. Why? The words were scribbled quickly. Golem must have a master. Why? Because the words say so? Golem must have a master. Carrot sighed. Men had to breathe, fish had to swim, golems had to have a master. I don't know if I can sort this out, but no one else is going to try, believe me, he said. Dorf did not move. Carrot went back to where he had been standing. I'm wondering if the old priest and Mr. Hopkinson did something, or helped to do something, he said, watching the golem's face. I'm wondering if, afterwards, something turned against them, found the world a bit too much. Dorf remained impassive. Carrot nodded. Anyway, you're free to go. What happens now is up to you. I'll help you if I can. If a golem is a thing, then it can't commit murder, and I'll still try to find out why all this is happening. If a golem can commit murder, then you are people, and what is being done to you is terrible and must be stopped. Either way, you win, Dorf. He turned his back and fiddled with some papers on his desk. The big trouble, he added, is that everyone wants someone else to read their minds for them and then make the world work properly. Even golems, perhaps. He turned back to face the golem. I know you've all got a secret, but the way things are going, there won't be any of you left to keep it. He looked hopefully at Dorf. No, clay of my clay, I will not betray. Carrot sighed. Well, I won't force you. He grinned. Although, you know, I could. I could write a few extra words on your hem, tell you to be talkative. The fires rose in Dorf's eyes. But I won't. because that would be inhumane. You haven't murdered anyone. I can't deprive you of your freedom because you haven't got any. Go on, you can go. It's not as if I don't know where you live. To work is to live. What is it golems want, Dwarf? I've seen you golems walking around the streets and working all the time, but what is it you actually hope to achieve? The slate pencil scribbled. Respite. Then Dolph turned around and walked out of the building. Damn, said Carrot, a difficult linguistic feat. He drummed his fingers on the desk, then got up abruptly, put his clothing back on and stalked down the corridor to find Angua. She was leaning against the wall in Corporal Littlebottom's office, talking to the dwarf. I've sent Dolph home, said Carrot. Has he got one? Said Angua. Well, back to the slaughterhouse anyway. But it's probably not a good time for a golem to be out alone, so I'm just going to stroll along after him and keep... Are you all right, Corporal Littlebottom? Yes, sir, said Cherie. You're wearing a... Carrot's mind rebelled at the thought of what the dwarf was wearing and settled for a kilt? Yes, sir. A skirt, sir. A leather one, sir. Carrot tried to find a suitable response and had to resort to, oh. I'll come with you, said Angua. Cherie can keep an eye on the desk. A kilt, said Carrot. Oh. Well, just keep an eye on things. We won't be long. And, just keep behind the desk, all right? Come on, said Angua. When they were out in the fog, Carrot said, do you think there's something a little bit odd about Littlebottom? Seems like a perfectly ordinary female to me, said Angua. Female? He told you he was female. She, Angua corrected. This is Ankh-Morpork, you know. We've got extra pronouns here. She could smell his bewilderment. Of course, everyone knew that somewhere down under all those layers of leather and chainmail, dwarfs came in enough different types to ensure the future production of more dwarfs, but it was not a subject that dwarfs discussed other than at those essential points at a courtship when embarrassment might otherwise arise. Well, I would have thought she'd have the decency to keep it to herself, Carrot said finally. I mean, I've nothing against females. I'm pretty certain my stepmother is one. But I don't think it's very clever, you know, to go around drawing attention to the fact. Carrot, I think you've got something wrong with your head, said Angua. What? I think you may have got it stuck up your bum. I mean, good grief. A bit of makeup and a dress, and you're acting as though she's become Miss Va-Va-Voom and started dancing on tables down at the Skunk Club. There were a few seconds of shocked silence while they both considered the image of a dwarfish striptease dancer. Both minds rebelled. Anyway, said Angua, if people can't be themselves in Ankh-Morpork, where can they? There'll be trouble when the other dwarfs notice, said Carrot. I could almost see his knees. Her knees. Everyone's got knees. Perhaps, but it's asking for trouble to flaunt them. I mean, I'm used to knees. I could look at knees and think, oh yes, knees, they're just hinges in your legs, but some of the lads... Angua sniffed. He turned left here. Some of the lads what? Well, I don't know how they'll react, that's all. You shouldn't have encouraged her. I mean, of course, there's female dwarfs, but... I mean, they have the decency not to show it. He heard Angua gasp. Her voice sounded rather far away when she said, "Garrett, you know I've always respected your attitude to the citizens of Ankh-Morpork. Yes? I've been impressed by the way you really seem to be blind to things like shape and colour. Yes? And you always seem to care for people. Yes? And you know that I feel considerable affection for you. Yes? It's just that sometimes, yes, I really, really, really wonder why." Carriages were thickly parked outside Lady Salachi's mansion when Corporal Nobbs strolled up the drive. He knocked on the door. A footman opened it. "Servants' entrance," said the footman, and made to shut the door again. But Nobby's outstretched foot had been ready for this. "Read this," he said, thrusting 2 bits of paper at him. The first one read, "I, after hearing evidence from a number of experts, including Mrs. Slipdry the midwife, certify that the balance of probability is that the bearer of this document, C.W. St. John Nobbs, is a human being. Signed, Lord Veterinary." The other was the letter from Dragon King of Arms. The footman's eyes widened. "Oh, I am terribly sorry, your lordship," he said. He stared again at Corporal Nobbs. Nobby was clean-shaven, at least the last time he'd shaved, he'd been clean-shaven, but his face had so many minor topological features it looked like a very bad example of slash-and-burn agriculture. "Oh dear," added the footman. He pulled himself together. "The other visitors normally just have cards." Nobby produced a battered deck. "I'm probably busy hobnobbing right now," he said, "but I'm game for a few rounds of Cripple Mr. Onion afterwards, if you like." The footman looked him up and down. He didn't get out much. He'd heard rumours, who hadn't, that working in the watch was the rightful king of Ankh-Morpork. He'd have to admit that if you wanted to hide a secret heir to the throne, you couldn't possibly hide him more carefully than under the face of C.W. St. J. Nobbs. On the other hand, the footman was something of an historian, and knew that in its long history, even the throne itself had been occupied by creatures who had been hunchbacked, one-eyed, knuckle-dragging, and as ugly as sin. On that basis, Nobby was as royal as they came. If technically he wasn't hunchbacked, this was only because he was hunched front and sides too. There might be a time, the footman thought, when it paid to hitch your wagon to a star, even if said star was a red dwarf. "You've never been to one of these affairs before, my lord?" he said. "First time," said Nobby. "I'm sure your lordship's blood will rise to the occasion," said the footman weakly. "I'll have to go," Angua thought as they hurried through the fog. "I can't go on living from month to month." It's not that he's not likeable. You couldn't wish to meet a more caring man. That's just it. He cares for everyone. He cares about everything. He cares indiscriminately. He knows everything about everyone because everyone interests him, and the caring is all general and never personal. He doesn't think personal is the same as important. If only he had some decent human quality, like selfishness. I'm sure he doesn't think about it that way, but you can tell the werewolf thing is upsetting him underneath. He cares about the things people say behind my back, and he doesn't know how to deal with them. What was it those dwarfs said the other day? One said something like, "She feels the need," and the other one said, "Yeah, the need to feed." I saw his expression. I can handle that sort of thing. Well, most of the time. But he can't. If only he'd thump someone. It wouldn't do any good, but at least he'd feel better. It's going to get worse. At best, I'm going to get caught in someone's chicken house, and then the midden is really going to hit the windmill. Or I'll get caught in someone's room. She tried to shut out the thought, but it didn't work. You could only control the werewolf. You couldn't tame it. It's the city. Too many people, too many smells. Maybe it would work if we were just alone somewhere, but if I said it's me or the city, he wouldn't even see there was a choice. Sooner or later, I've got to go home. It's the best thing for him.
Carrot, you idiot.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Poor.
Yep. Yep.
Certainly got his head
Nope.
stuck somewhere.
Frickin' carrot. Squeak. Ah, fucking carrots. You're too good for him. You're too good for him.
I don't know, he's pretty badass in the next one.
Yeah, but like,
He
he's
has
so boring.
Come on, Frankie. It's just because you want Angela all to yourself.
I want Angua with veterinary. That's it. That's it. I'd ship that.
Also, the fact that veterinary is like, oh yeah, I know who did it, and I'm not going to tell him because I feel like he needs the practice. But like, yeah, I totally know who's trying to kill me. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's so important to make sure that they have what's it called, like stimulation, you know, like activities and stuff.
Oh, enrichment.
Enrichment, yeah, it's so important. Like, there's nothing like it's for his own sake.
Oh, veterinary.
Veterinary's terrier needs enrichment.
It's so good. Who? Okay, so I don't think we've done this yet. Have we cast veterinary? Who do we want to play veterinary? We did a bit of casting in Monstrous Regiment, but I don't think we haven't cast feature
Storytime
yet.
casting?
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, storytime casting.
Frankie, you're clearly veterinary.
Yes. Best thing anyone's ever said to me ever, and that includes the Kirsty Logan thing earlier. Amazing.
I think Michael's veterinary.
Which Michael?
Michael with the headphones.
Got their like
Which Michael's
features.
currently got headphones? I'm scrolling back and forth to see Michael with the headphones. Where that Michael with the headphones. Interesting.
I mean, I think I have the nose for it.
I think you could plot pretty well.
Mm.
You don't tell people about that bit.
What about Pontouf Mike for veterinary, who lurks out of sight but has all of the kind of Machiavellian comments going in the chat? The power behind the throne.
Yes. The power that sits on a small wooden chair just next to the throne.
Do that. Maybe Pontouf could be the death of rats.
I mean, I think the death of rats is having far more fun than veterinary.
What, we met Arthur?
No, the death of rats.
Oh, the death of. Okay, yeah.
The Grim Squeaker. Yeah, the Grim
Yeah.
Squeaker. Which is the best name. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, thank you for the shout out. We met Arthur. Nicest thing.
Manly Arthur is amazing. I love this character.
So good.
I love that it's widget.
Yeah.
He's like the littlest Arnold Schwarzenegger. Is ridiculous.
Do you want to be Wee Mad Arthur, Kitty?
I absolutely want to be Wee Mad Arthur.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like Kitty and Rory, your household is like a perfect composite for Wee Mad Arthur.
Also, shout out to Frankie's Northern Irish accent.
What's up, my love?
Your Ulster accent. It's really good.
Is it okay? I'm always very anxious about it. Thank you very much.
And the low-hanging fruit, I like to put myself forward as Cherie.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Yeah, good call.
Yeah! Oh.
Who just said that?
Nev.
Oh, you would look so cool. I can totally see you in like an iron helmet and like high-heeled iron boots and a leather skirt.
Yeah, now time for me to return everything that I bought for Neville for Christmas and buy some new shit.
Yeah. First dance event that we're all at. I wanna see that leather kilt.
If Kitty is Wee Mad Arthur, I call dibs on detritus.
I was going to suggest that, but I thought that might be rude.
Detritus is amazing.
Yeah.
It would be an honor.
Yeah.
Own up.
Yeah.
It was you who did it.
I can definitely like imagine you like nailing like people who are like pushing harmful drugs to kids to the wall by their ears.
I also presume that Rory already owns a club of some kind.
Actually,
yeah, we do. He does.
Have we had fan called detritus yet?
Don't think so.
No.
No, we haven't.
Men at Arms and Jingo, I think that comes in.
Who's Angua? Is Katie Angua?
Who wants to dance?
Oh my god, no way!
Of course he does.
It was a pretty safe bet.
I propose myself as Bloody Stupid Johnson.
Nice.
Oh, who else?
But who is our Vimes?
I feel like I can see you as Vimes.
I don't know, Nick, I don't know if you're enough of a cynical bastard to be.
I am quite a cynical bastard. That is a likeness that I can say I have.
How good are you at fighting?
Terrible.
Yeah,
How
I
are you
thought
at
that might be
drinking?
the one that lets you down.
Not really sure he's grizzled enough to be Vimes.
I mean, I would put myself up for Vimes, but I definitely don't know how grizzled I can be. I could try, but it's only because I just love Vimes so goddamn much that it feels bad to put myself up for Vimes.
I'm not sure anyone who turns up to be read bedtime stories every day is cynical enough.
That's very true.
People we're trying to choose from is an issue.
Vimes is completely into the daily bedtime stories.
Yeah, no
Actually,
spoilers.
that's true.
At a later date.
No spoilers for later dates, but yes.
I was going to suggest Kitty for Vimes, but apparently Wee Mad Arthur is already the assignment there. So.
John, would you like to be Vimes?
I do have the mark on my arm.
Well then.
It's really hard to show that.
That's cool.
The mark.
That's so badass.
So,
Okay, yeah.
but
Wow.
but like Em said, that's just because I like Vimes. It's not because I actually am like a good detective or anything.
Well, the thing is, Vimes is not always a great detective. That's kind of part of his jam.
Yeah, Vimes
his
is someone
jam is
like.
persistence, not actual capability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason I really like Vimes too is because it's like, as someone who worked in a shitty corporate environment for a long time, it's really hard to try to, and challenging but important to try to like pull yourself into your values and be straight up about where you're at while managing being in that kind of a world. And Vime seems like the least copy clop, and that's almost what that makes me think of, like just being stuck in a system that isn't necessarily what you like.
Yeah.
He's just I'm weak for a man with integrity, you know. Oof. And those cigars. Integrity and cigars, it's the only two things that I look for. The only two things that interest me.
Nice.
Really? I thought it was cling film and chocolate.
You know who you are?
Who?
Katie's the organizer. Bingly, 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 bing. It's story time.
No, she gets it at the right time too often.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Maybe I'm the organizer because I'm always like overshotting it and I never turn up on time. And I always forget to finish the recording, which is what we have done. Maybe we should say goodbye to the catch-up crew. Answers on a postcard as to who you would cast. It's all still to play for. Good night, catch-up crew. Bye. Oh wait, no, wait, hold on. I don't really
Nice
stop.
to see you again.
Keep walking. Night, Kirsty Logan. Goodbye.